Tux Takes.
All right, Ross, as you mentioned earlier, the biggest news since Thursday came late last night. The Bengals, they get it done. They signed Ja'Marr Chase and Tee Higgins to giant 4-year contracts that make Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history and Higgins the highest paid wide receiver too in the NFL.
So, I always say this, Jack, but I don't know what we're going to have later on in the week. So I always like to, if there's something I have a pretty strong take on, Tux Take, I like to use that for the Labatt Take, brought to you by Labatt. With Labatt, you can buy beer and get gear. Go to their website, snap a photo of your receipt, and upload it to gain points towards exclusive merch. Any size, any product, anywhere you're buying Labatt. Sign up at rewards.labattusa.com. Good news and bad news for Bengals fans. The good news, the Bengals did it. The Brown family, Mike Brown, they got both Ja'Marr Chase and Tee Higgins done for the next 4 years. I'll be very curious to see if they can work something out with Trey Hendrickson. But this is a momentous occasion because I know a lot of you Bengals fans were skeptical, dubious at the prospect of the Brown family opening up their pocketbook to get both these contracts done. They did it. I'm thrilled for you guys. And for most of you, that's all that you care about. That's all that matters. The bad news is them waiting as long as they did for both players cost them a bunch of money, both cash and, more importantly, for your purposes as a fan, cap. Right? I don't know, somewhere between $16 million and probably $40 million, I would guess, over a 4-year period, both in cash and cap. That's what the Bengals cost themselves by waiting. But again, most of you don't care about that. That's the bad news. The better news is you got your star quarterback and receivers for a long, long time.
Some other news that happened included the Seahawks. They bring in their own wide receiver and Cooper Kupp for 3 years for $45 million over 3 years, and the Falcons guaranteed $10 million of Kirk Cousins' salary next year. 2026.
Yeah, 2026. So that's really amazing. And Kirk is getting $27.5 million fully guaranteed this year. So he now has $37.5 fully guaranteed over the next 2 years. His agent, Kirk and his agent, they should teach a class. I mean, they really should in terms of leverage and maximizing value for a player. It is incredible. Now, I think on some level, the Washington franchise kind of aided and abetted this, right? Because they could have just given Cousins what he deserved earlier, and they would have had a franchise quarterback for a while, but they didn't want to do that. They did not want to marry Kirk. They wanted to date him, and maybe some could argue, rightfully so. As for the Cooper Kupp thing, I love when guys, love when any player gets to kind of finish their career or go back to where they're from. Saquon in Philly. I thought it might be Hassan Reddick in Philly, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to finish there. But any player like this, to go back to your area, kind of where you're from, would have been like the Watts going to the Packers. It's just really, really cool, especially if you want to live there after you're done, right? You can start to set things up for the rest of your life. So kudos to Cooper Kupp. Greg was not very complimentary, I would say, of Kupp on last week's show, the last episode last week, Thursday. Sounds like a lot of teams really wanted Cooper Kupp. A lot of teams believe that he has a decent amount left, Seahawks being one of them. We'll see. Obviously, the Rams did not think that was the case. We know that. So we'll see whether the Rams were wrong, Seahawks were right, somewhere in between. But thrilled for him to get that contract. I will say this, probably ask Greg about that this week. Does feel like Cooper Kupp and Smith and Jigba are both best as slot receivers. So a little bit curious how Greg thinks the Seahawks will kind of play that.
Meanwhile, the Bills, their defensive line signings Michael Holt, I'm going to butcher that one, I'm sure, and Larry Ogunjobi both suspended 6 games for PED violations.
Hoyt. Okay, you would not think that that's how it's spelled. Hoecht. He actually played at Brown. He's an Ivy League guy. And Brandon Beane, the general manager for the Buffalo Bills, said that they knew about Michael Hoyt's PED suspension. They did not know that about Ogunjobi. So I guess I would say, number one, I don't know how that's possible. And I wonder if other teams did or not. Number two, I would think that the Ogunjobi had to disclose that or was supposed to disclose that. I would think that that's the case. My guess is that the Bills could get out of that if they really wanted to, but it's not good for the first 6 weeks of the season that they don't have either one of those guys, right? They wouldn't have done that. You're talking about a third of the season, more than a third of the season. Two of your top 6 D linemen now not available at the same time. That's not what you're looking for. Flip side is the Bills are highly likely to be in the postseason, and what they really need is those guys playing their best when they get to that point.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on the whole situation of Demarcus Lawerence trading his sort of words with Micah Parsons about the Cowboys' inability to win a Super Bowl.
I was going to make this the Labatt take until the Bengals news came down late last night. Probably could have. I have no idea what Demarcus Lawerence is doing. You spend 11 years with a franchise like the Dallas Cowboys. They pay you well over $100 million. And the first thing you're going to do when you go to a new team is say, I know I would never win a Super Bowl there. I can understand maybe having some frustration that the Cowboys didn't have more postseason success while you were there. But this is one of those things in life where it's like, what is the upside of making that comment? Why would you possibly make that comment? How can that benefit you? I don't know if Demarcus Lawerence was a Ring of Honor guy or not, but this certainly isn't going to help that chance. Make the case for that. I don't know why you say this. And by the way, you say, yeah, I'm glad I'm not there anymore because I know they're not going to win a Super Bowl. But you are going to win a Super Bowl in Seattle with Sam Darnold? Seriously? Like that's your argument, DeMarcus? I'm thoroughly confused why he would say that. And then Micah Parsons, who's not happy about it, says something, which we can debate whether or not it was smart for Micah to go there on social media. But then Demarcus Lawrence's response is, maybe if you would spend less time on tweeting and more time on winning, I'd still be there. DeMarcus, again, what are you talking about? Micah's arguably been the best defensive player in the league over the last 4 years. Where were you, bro? Like, I didn't see you making nearly as many plays as he was. And like, you were on the team too. What are you talking about? I don't know. Demarcus Lawrence, on multiple instances, I have no idea what he's talking about or why he's saying the things he says.
There was a lot of quarterback news over the weekend. Steelers, they bring in a quarterback, Mason Rudolph, 2 years, $8 million with $4.5 million of that guaranteed. The Chiefs, they signed Gardner Minshew to back up Patrick Mahomes. Chargers, they brought back Taylor Heineke. Lions signed Kyle Allen. Bucks bring back Kyle Trask. Chiefs re-signed Bailey Zappi. And Cooper Rush, he got a good deal in Baltimore to back up Lamar Jackson.
And now the Cowboys have to figure out who their backup quarterback is, but we still wait. We still wait for Aaron Rodgers because there's a lot of quarterback dominoes that need to fall. There are some reports out there that he wants to play the Vikings. He's told the Vikings he wants to play for them, and he's waiting for a hard no from them. By the way, if they still haven't told you by now that they want you, that kind of is a hard no. Speaking of the Vikings.
They're Vikings, yeah. They continue to make some line moves. They trade Ed Ingram to the Texans. They cut center Garrett Bradbury before trading a 2026 sixth-rounder for 49ers running back Jordan Mason. They give him a new deal that includes $7 million guaranteed.
They wanted to have two backs. They brought back Aaron Jones, Now they have Jordan Mason. I believe they're both signed to 2-year deals, so they can see how it works out. This way they can help try at least to keep Aaron Jones healthy. They have not officially cut Garrett Bradbury yet. They said they were going to, but now I think they're trying to figure out a way to get any type of draft choice in return. And with the other guys they signed, they felt comfortable moving on from Ed Ingram. I like that trade, by the way, from a Texans standpoint. Now they've gotten a couple of legitimate starting guards with Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram.
There were some teams that were more active than others. It's the Patriots. They cut longtime center David Andrews, then they signed edge rusher K'Lavon Chase on, and safety Marcus Epps. They bring in Epps as well. And the Eagles, they bring in several signings, including Josh Uche, tight ends Harrison Bryant and Kylan Granson, and quarterback Adoree Jackson. But they did lose Mekhi Becton to the Chargers.
Patriots have basically moved on from all of like the old school Belichick guys, Dietrich Wise and Jonathan Jones, David Andrews. They're kind of getting rid of the old there. As for the Eagles, I think the Becton thing was expected. I think, they've got other guys there, internal younger candidates that they hope will play as well as Becton did last year. I do like that move for the Chargers to have Becton at right guard. That was a trouble spot for them last year. That's a good signing for the Bolts.
I feel like you put this next group of names together on purpose to mess with me because pronunciations. With the Commanders, they re-signed wide receiver Noah Brown, I'm not even going to pronounce that because I know I'll butcher it, Cleveland Farrell. Dolphins, they bring back offensive lineman Leon Eichenberg, and the Niners brought back Kyle Juszczyk.
The important thing there is Juszczyk back with the Niners. Didn't know if that would happen or not. I'm happy for him. That's the perfect fit for him. And for the Niners, he's the perfect fullback. The only other ones that jumped out to me, I would say, Jack, the Raiders signing Raheem Mostert. I mentioned the Texans with Laken Tomlinson. Cowboys signed Miles Sanders and Dante Fowler. Dolphins have a running back in Madison. And then the Jets signed D-tackle Derek Noddy. I promised winners. I'm giving out some winners. Those of you that go the extra mile, I'm always noticing. I'm always appreciating. Jeremiah Mondi, he made a comment on Twitter or X or whatever we call it. He replied to a post by @RossTuckerPod. Jeremiah, you're the man. Tom Ledman sent me a picture of himself drinking a Labatt Blue Light. That counts. Love it. And the YouTube shout out, Wilbert Matthews, youtube.com/RossTuckerNFL, made a great comment about Greg Cosell. I think we're done here.